Praise God. Let's just read the main text this morning and see how far we can go tonight. We're talking about faithful prayer. We're in chapter 6 of Daniel. Let me read from verse 1. Darius decided to appoint 120 satraps over the kingdom, stationed throughout the realm, and over them 3 administrators, including Daniel. These satraps would be accountable to them so that the king would not be defrauded. Daniel distinguished himself above the administrators and satraps because he had an extraordinary spirit. Say extraordinary spirit. So the king planned to set him over the whole realm, the administrators and satraps, therefore kept trying to find a charge against Daniel regarding the kingdom, but they could find no charge of or corruption, for he was trustworthy. And no negligence or corruption was found in him. Then these men said, "We will never find any charge against this Daniel unless we find something against him concerning the law of his God." So the administrators and satraps went together to the king and said to him, "May King Darius live forever." And the administrators of the kingdom, the prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors, have agreed that the king should establish an ordinance and enforced an edict that for 30 days anyone who petitions any god or man except you, the king, will be thrown into the lion's den. Therefore, your majesty, establish the edict and sign the document so that as a law of the Medes and the Persians, it is irrevocable and can't be changed. So King Darius signed the written edict. So this morning we were talking about the trap that these people are trying to lay against Daniel. And so we ask the question, where is this evil coming from? And the Bible actually in the New Testament says, the devil puts up a snare in front of us. We know what a snare is. Snare is something hidden, unless you are familiar with how it is set up, you'll probably just get sucked into it. And we were making applications that you will find that a Christian being used by God can be making so much progress and going full speed ahead. And suddenly, something stopped that person. The person has been trapped. Because a trap is something that is supposed to stop you at your tracks. And not only stop you, the ultimate goal is for your destruction. And I think the enemy has gotten so many Christians trapped. And they could not do anything. And so you look at the overall picture. Where is this evil coming from? We are looking at the prophetic. We are a prophetic community, and all of us has a significant role to play, especially in the end of times. Now, in the part of Israel, and in the part of Daniel, Daniel was 15 to 21 or 7 to 21 years old. He had read the prophecies of Isaiah, which was spoken of 150 years earlier, about Cyrus the king, about the 70 years captivities, prophecy of Jeremiah. And so now that 70 years prophecy is coming to a close. And so God is about to move. I mean, especially on don't take lightly our Friday night prayer meetings whenever we do them. And I hope you are following the prayer requests that we're issuing. And if you will remember, the last time that we were talking about the spirit at work in this country, we're talking about the spirit of delusion. And if you're just following that and keep praying about these things, the delusion in this country has never ceased. You look, and this delusion is a partner with arrogance. You look at the kind of decisions that our country is making. Like there is no problem. When there's a lot of problem and you're wondering, where is this coming from? It's a spiritual thing. It has already stopped this country. It slowed down considerably in terms of missions. We are no longer a powerhouse missionary country like before. England was stopped already. Germany was stopped already. There were, there were, there were money coming out of these countries still as if the mission activity is still in full swing, but it's not. Korea is in full swing of doing missions. But now it has become religion, and it's no longer as powerful as before. Surprisingly, the Philippines at this point, in spite of what's happening, has now sent, I don't know how many hundreds of missionaries globally. We have a powerful mission in Myanmar. We have a powerful mission in Indonesia. We have some good missions in Hong Kong to this day. We have missions in Norway. We have missions in New Zealand. We have missions in Australia. The Philippines, little by little, is being to send missions groups. Oh, big churches like Victory in the Philippines and CCF, they have sent missionaries that are trying to do missions globally. And so we are trying to take that role, but I'm telling you, Philippines is also one of these countries wherein the word of the Lord came forth about our role in the last days, but we have been trapped. One of the biggest traps that we got ourselves enveloped in is what we call as colonial mentality. That colonial mentality is a bondage that had wreaked havoc in the spirit of Filipinos. That anything that is not Filipino is better than what is Filipino. That started way back during the reign of Manuel Alquezon. I have no doubt if you have read the writings of Manuel Alquezon, he was the one who said, the Philippines in the hand of an ignorant and uneducated Filipino is better than the Philippines in the hand of an educated foreigner. That's actually, that sounded like very communist. And you can see that happening in our country. The colonial mentality is so strong that we are willing to eat each other, but give a pass to a foreigner simply because he's a foreigner. And ever since I was young, I have seen that. It's still evident today. You know, the eyes of the Filipinos right now are opening. There are a few voices that are speaking against it. Whenever I speak about it in the Philippines, some Filipinos will just be silent because most of them are supported by missionaries. And it's an amazing thing that is happening. But then we have been trapped like that. And it stops us on our tracks. If you guys will remember the first time we became a church, the visions and dreams and aspirations coming from this church, that was partially stopped also. You know, I used to hear a lot of dreams from our members. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. A lot of that noise has been stopped. And if you will look at it, it's not sometimes because of sin. We're just trapped. I mean, to be honest, one of our biggest trap is our financial obligations. The moment you are deep into financial obligations, boy, you are trapped. You have nowhere to go. And in the case of Daniel, it's because of what God is about to do in the nation of Israel. Let me read to you a prophecy written by Isaiah. Starting on chapter 44, we're going to go up to chapter 45 because there's only one verse left in chapter 44 that I'm going to read. Who says to Cyrus, say Cyrus, look, this prophecy was written 150 years earlier. And yet it named the king who's going to rule, Cyrus. Who says to Cyrus, my shepherd? Well, this is a wicked king, but God says, my shepherd. He will fulfill all my pleasure, and says to Jerusalem, she will be rebuilt, and of the temple, its foundation will be laid. The Lord said this to Cyrus, his anointed. Again, this is a wicked king, and yet he is God's anointed, whose right hand I have grasped to subdue nations before him, and disarm kings to open doors before him. And this is exactly what happened when he took Babylon. It's practically a bloodless takeover, you know. and even city gates will not be shut. I'll go before you and level the uneven places. I will shatter the bronze doors and cut the iron bars in two. I will give you the treasures of darkness and riches from secret places, so that you may know that I am the Lord. I am the God of Israel who calls you by your name. I call you by your name. For the sake of my servant Jacob and Israel, my chosen one, I give a name to you, though you do not know me. Look at that. Cyrus, in entering Babylon, coming on the 70th year of captivity, doesn't even know God, and yet he is serving him. This is the sovereignty of God at work here that Daniel is cooperating in. I am the Lord, and there is no other. There is no God but me. I will strengthen you, though you do not know me, so that all may know that from the rising of the sun to its setting, that there is no one but me. I am the Lord, and there is no other. I form light and create darkness. I make success and create disaster. I am the Lord who does all of these things. So now you know the context of I create light and darkness. You're talking about captivity. You're talking about Israel going into captivity. That's darkness. Light being Cyrus giving deliverance to the nation of Israel. That's the immediate context, although the application can be wider than that. God did all of those things. The prediction, as I said, came around 150 years earlier. Since Daniel is among the big three administrators, I am certain Cyrus have known Daniel. They have met already earlier, perhaps. This is also a time when fulfillment of Jeremiah's prophecy is about to come to pass. Let me read to you Jeremiah 25:11. This is the prophecy that is going to be fulfilled. Jeremiah 25:11. This whole land will become a desolate ruin, and these nations will serve the king of Babylon for 70 years. That's a 70 years prophecy. Now, we also know, because Daniel is already retired, recalled from retirement, that probably Daniel was an intensive Bible study and prayer because he realized the above prophecy is about to be fulfilled. Listen, when you see prophecy coming to pass, cooperate with God. If you want to work with God, cooperate with God. Pray about these things. Like, we know that the nation of Israel had already returned to the land. We should be praying that they will stay in the land. That's prophecy. And we should be praying also that the Messiah whom they are asking for will come so that they can return to the Lord. I'm telling you, every time I pray about those things. Because then I am participating with what God is doing today. Jesus Christ about to return. And we should be praying the prayer that was in the book of Revelation, even so come. Lord, even so come. And this is for the nation of Israel. God, in the history in chapter 6, is about to act once again on behalf of Israel. And one of the key importance in this decree is made by Cyrus later on in the first year of his reign. This is the first year of his reign. Some even believe that Darius perhaps reigned Babylon for just 1 year. You know, can you imagine if he just reigned for 1 year? So you're talking about 1 year difference from taking over, just appointing the satraps and the administrators, and then Cyrus took over. I don't know how long Darius really reigned, but I'm saying that one of the views is just 1 year. But look at Ezra chapter 1. Ezra is a priestly prophet. In the first year of King Cyrus of Persia. Now, Darius is a Mede. Cyrus is Persian. Remember, it's a Medo-Persian Empire. In the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill, look at this, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord, I want you to underscore that because sometimes we overlook prepositions like this. In order to fulfill. So Cyrus is going to issue a decree in order to fulfill. The word of the Lord is spoken through Jeremiah. The Lord aroused the spirit of King Cyrus to issue a proclamation throughout his entire kingdom and to put it in writing. This is what King Cyrus of Persia says. The Lord, the God of the heavens, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth and has appointed me to build him a house at Jerusalem in Judah. Now think about this. He authorized the rebuilding of the house in Judah. Now that makes the rebuilding of the next temple interesting Because sometimes we are just looking at the possibility that Israel will just rebuild it. Hey, listen, the second temple was rebuilt because Cyrus issued a proclamation. What if, what if one of the foreign kings, well, we know that the Antichrist will approve it. Yeah. One of the foreign kings just simply say, allow the temple to be rebuilt, I'll help finance it. And it's still the Lord's order. Any of his people among you, may his God be with him, and may he go to Jerusalem in Judah and build the house of the Lord, the God of Israel, the God who is in Jerusalem. Let every survivor, wherever he resides, be assisted by the men of that region with silver, gold, goods, and livestock, along with the freewill offering for the house of God in Jerusalem. Now look, this is transfer of wealth. And I'm telling you this, one of the doctrines that is very important that we ignore because we become greedy. We think that the doctrine of the transfer of wealth is for personal purposes only. There is a bigger purpose for that. The doctrine of the transfer of wealth is for the fulfillment of the prophecies concerning the kingdom of God. And so here, it's like Exodus, it's like a new Exodus. Give favor to the Jews who wants to return to Jerusalem. Give them silver, give them gold, give them whatever they want, whatever they need. Let them take it from you and let them return to Israel. Therefore, it could very well be that the hostilities raised against Daniel, aimed at eliminating him, was to prevent him from counseling Cyrus to make the decree in Ezra chapter 1. Now notice, in order to, it doesn't seem like Cyrus heard the voice of God. But it seems like somebody related to Cyrus the will of the Lord. And I cannot think of any other person other than Daniel. So now, the reason why the enemy wants to eliminate Daniel, to prevent Daniel from sharing the prophetic details with Cyrus and influence him in being used by God to further his covenant program. I think we're looking at prophecy sometimes like, well, Cyrus was awakened by the Lord and said, tell the Jews, go back home. No. I think on the first year of Cyrus, after taking over from Darius, that Daniel sat with him. Because now, Cyrus had known the reputation of Daniel and said, Daniel, you're about to be appointed. Maybe he was appointed. He was appointed by Darius. You're the chief among all the administrators. Now tell me, you know how to govern Babylon. How do I do it? And he told him and said, by the way, Cyrus, don't you think it's strange that Darius reigned for a very short time? And now you just turned over Babylon to Darius, and now Darius is gone, and you are king once again. Don't you think it's strange? And I would have loved to be in that conversation. And Cyrus is all ears and say, well, Daniel, you're an old man. You're perhaps at this point that you're around 8 to 83 years old. What do you say? Well, the God who blessed me here in Babylon has called you. Oh, that would have been a shocker. And said, for such a time as this, you are going to rebuild Jerusalem and its temple. Now, can you imagine if Daniel was trapped? Say when they were investigating Daniel, the two other, I have to wake up, yeah. The two other administrators, I was about to say satraps. When the two other administrators were about to trap him, and they looked into his life, and they found another woman. Or if you are a Joseph, okay, and they looked into your life. Now they found he was innocent, and they found that you really slept with Potiphar's wife. Will Pharaoh trust you? You see, this is why it is important that we have the spirit of understanding. Remember, I said the seven spirits of God: spirit of wisdom, knowledge, counsel, might. No, not sound, the fear of the Lord. All of these things. That's why it's very important. The spirit of understanding is you are faced with facts, and you know where it fits. You know, It's a combination of wisdom. A lot of us see things in front of us, we don't know what it means. We are just ignorant as the unbelievers. We don't know what it means. And so when the opportunity comes, and we are not mindful of the prophetic calendar. Okay? We are not, look, this June, John and I are going to Israel to study again. At least me again. Oh, John's again also because he had been there once. Can you imagine if I allowed the enemy to trap me into spending my money uselessly? I would enjoy some of the things that other people would enjoy. I wouldn't have the funds to go there. Do you know what's happening in Israel right now? The amount of archaeological discoveries that I have seen things that will not be published in the next 20 years. In fact, the archaeologists are so overwhelmed with their discoveries. I was in a room at one time, almost this size. Rich archaeological digs. And the chief archaeologist told us, maybe I'm dead before this is published. And we asked why. We're not allowed to publish it yet. Because when the world hears about this, the concept is just too much to handle right now. They are way behind their publications. They are behind at least 50 years. What you will learn in Israel at this point in time is just so amazing. It's like opening the Bible and reading it and understanding it. But if you don't have the money, you cannot go there. Oh, maybe you had the money, but you don't know the purpose of that money. So you spend it uselessly. Now, by the way, we don't know we don't know how many more years will Israel continue to be open like this. That's why I can't wait to go back there because I'm following the news on a regular basis, and I can't wait to walk in the underground street that connects it. I mean, they just opened a new street there that was closed before, and Israel did it in silence. Now it's open. I can't wait to walk through that street. If you don't have the funds, that's just as simple as funds. But I keep telling my wife before, Ann, save money for me. Save money for me. I said, because I'm going to study in Israel. I said, when the opportunity comes, I'm going to walk in there and learn as much as I can. That's called understanding. Yeah. What if you don't have the understanding? Will you keep buying some peanuts? Enjoy your peanuts. But you will not be able to use it according to the prophetic calendar of God. I have been barking on this for over 20 years in this house. The church is a prophetic community. We walk with God. If you are not ready, you can squander things and miss it. Look, Daniel started at the age of 15 to 21. Now he's 82, 83 years old. And now he's matured. He had learned his voice is valued. You know, when I was a young preacher, I would jump all over the place. I will sweat all over the place. And people look at me, who is that young kid? Is he married? Nobody asks me that anymore. I'll tell you one other thing. When I started going back and I talk about the family, I have seen the problem in clergy families, you know. And I was a little younger, so I would address it from time to time, but there is a need to address this problem. And I saw it. And I keep telling the pastors, why don't you guys teach the young ones how to raise a family? And nobody would bite. Then later on, I found out that they got trapped. They've got kids serving the devil instead of God. They've got wives. We have pastors and their wives attending two different churches. Some couples, the wife has another church, the husband has another church. I mean, like they're fighting each other or something. All they say they're in unity, you know. I started bringing my kids when they were young. And some will just even hint at me and say, well, Pastor, your kids are small. You know, they're in elementary. And here, wait till they grow up. I have, I have a mute voice because they are right. My kids are small. And I watch as I see this continue to degenerate, how my kids have grown. John, when, when did you bring Matt with you? Was it last year? Oh, really? I thought it was 10 years ago. So it was last year. Are you sure about that? Oh, my goodness. For years, there has been a request to me to do youth meetings. Yeah. But at that point, when they were asking me to do the youth meeting, I knew it wasn't for me. Because I'm no longer youth. I'm gayut, you know. So, but I will consent. From time to time, I will speak one session for the youth. But I know I must not be the one addressing it. The kids were small. Yeah. And then they started requesting. Remember, they started requesting children's ministry. And so I started sending the children's ministry to help them develop their own curriculum, because we are developing our own curriculum to save some money. I was teaching them how to save money. I don't know why churches wants wasting money, but I was telling them you can do your own materials, you don't have to buy. You know, to the extent that this time, next mission, this November, we'll probably be sending by around September 3 or 4 boxes of how do you call this thing? Spam. Can you imagine a whole thing is spam? So Brother Willie, you better be prepared. Bring some frying pan this big. Portable, but you'll be cooking all the time, I guess. Because it's something that they value. You know why I'm thinking about that? Because we have the money to feed them lunch, but we don't have the luxury to waste these funds. Yeah. I don't know how long this door is going to open. But I'll tell you this, it's going to close. If you have the spirit of understanding, you see these things, it is not going to stay open this way. I cannot afford to waste money. That's why one of the conferences that we have, they started with 120. They started, and then we'll just cook. And then I negotiated down to 70. One person gave it to me at 60. Why do I keep doing that when we have the money? I don't know how much time we have. I really don't. We just have to take advantage of this opportunity. If the opportunity is open and we don't have the funds, we will lose it. This is the kind of urgency that I feel in my spirit, which most people don't. They think they just have to keep going. Look, some of you who come with me in missions, you're paying your own fare. How long will you be able to pay the fare? Think about it. This last month in our missions, some of the fare went as much as $3,500. You think everybody can afford that? It's not an easy thing to commit to. So I understand all of these things. That's why now the necessity for a headquarters. But then I realize if the headquarters is ill-sized, you buy a small property, it's going to turn into a toilet. And so you buy a multi-million peso property just for toilet, you know. And you say, well, we need to build a structure. That's a lot of money again. These are the things that you have to see, and it becomes an item of prayer. So now you come to God and you no longer say, oh Lord, give me more money, give me new clothes, give me new house. No, you begin to say, oh God, this is what we need. These things are happening. You begin to pray the prophecy. You begin to move into this. And so now you begin to work with God. and his resources becomes available to you, it becomes a very wise prayer. Look at this decree. Ezra was not even born when the prophecy was made. Daniel was not even born when the prophecy is made. Our time on earth today is not by accident. Some of our brothers have been trapped. They're stuck in the mud. They're going nowhere. Yeah. They're going nowhere. But some of us who had been graced by His mercy had found ourselves with a certain measure of freedom. Look, if when I did the transition team over 10 years ago, if the program was followed, when I was 55, my plan was to do a soft transition. Yeah, that was my plan. I could have done that. And I wasn't able to do that. Okay? The ordeal is not just about Daniel's faith facing severe trial in his old age. It is about God's covenant program facing satanic opposition. Look, Daniel was in his 80s. He can no longer fight. He can no longer, you know. I think this last mission, I was faced more with my aging body. Brother Willie has a crisis in his company, and normally he would take 1 day of the 3-day seminar. My wife will pitch in a little. Oh, this time it was brutal for me. Almost every day I'm teaching. I will go to the hotel and just collapse. I'll prepare my coffee to drink it. That's what I normally do. I don't even need the coffee to relax. I just collapse, and I'll wake up at around 2, 3 a.m. and could not sleep anymore. And so here comes the whole day again. It was just a grind. But going back to John, so I consented, I said, because they have been asking me, and I've seen, I'm not even telling these people, you know, yeah, I know there's a need for this. So now I consented, I said, John, can you do a 1-day youth conference with Matt and with DJ, but less with Matt. I think Matt didn't like it, but less with Matt, because I'm very aware of the times. Americans are no longer being heard like before. The people are just more interested with the money. Yeah, because they have lost their credibility. I mean, why will you listen to a nation whose youth sleeps around almost every given day? I mean, you'll be a foolish nation to listen to their youth. So America had lost credibility. Over 50% of the ministers here are divorced and remarried. It had lost it. Korea is losing credibility like crazy, you know. So I'm very aware of that. So of course, Matt wants a longer time, but I really felt the time has come. My kids have grown, and so I had John and DJ. DJ ministered longer. Boy, they like it, and they want it even more. But I didn't run into it. And then this time, I thought, well, it's about time for the family consultation, the level 4. I'll have a pastor's kid speak, and I was DJ. And boy, there is a request immediately. This thing keeps going. My wife will squash it, and then, you know, I don't do that. But now there is a request immediately for a pastor's kids conference. Now, I don't like the idea. I think the person who suggested that is just sounds smart, but unaware of what's going on. But I'm not going to have a pastor's kids only. How many pastor's kids survive anyways? But now I am more confident we can do youth conference. Yeah. Well, my kids have grown. Just in case you didn't notice, my kids are no longer those 3-year-old kids. They have grown, they have finished college, and their time has already come. Are you listening? What if I did not discipline them? What if they squandered their lives? Listen, this could be your kids. And this is what I have been sharing for years. And it's not like I kept it to myself. I shared it to this house. Because the elders like me are coming to a point wherein we have to just concentrate more on training the youngers. If you don't see this, then we're trapped. Are you following me? The 70 years of captivity has come, and we are unable to do anything about it. You know. Thank God for the Holy Spirit. But having said that, I know that the enemy has also laid traps for my kids. You know. And I've seen the devil pop its head more than twice. You know, and I don't know how many times we have to step in and sit our kids down and say, grow some brains in your head. You know. If what is between your ears is just earwax, melt it and put something real inside. Because sometimes you look at the decisions being made by people, it's just void of substance. There is no understanding. Why would you do such thing? It's part of the trap of the enemy. You know. Look, thank God I'm debt free. I've always said that house is my wife's. If my wife will just allow it, for example, I'll sell that house and build the building in the Philippines. Yeah. But that house was built not for me. That house was built for my wife. I know because I built it myself. You know. So that's for my wife. Okay. The opportunities are here. The prophetic calendar has been reactivated. Now, not all traps are hard traps. Some traps, you can sat on it. That's why it's called sat traps. You know? Where are the supplies coming from? This is an exciting time. Are you listening? Really an exciting time in the prophetic calendar. I can segue in all kinds of direction and just be excited, you know, but let's continue here. Let's go back to our previous thought that the only thing that the enemies of Daniel can find to get him is in the area of his religion, that is, his relationship with God. Let's find out how. Look how the enemy right now is putting an entrapment on the general faith community. Why are the liberal elements, including some conservative elements, pushing for abortion and OTC, abortifacients? It will force the Catholics, the strongest opponent perhaps to abortion. It will force the Catholics to have their doctors and hospitals and employees provide abortion. That is a trap. They're using the government. I mean, it's in broad daylight. How come the United Nations is using LGBTQ to say, we will not give aid to your country unless you allow same-sex marriage? It's a trap. It's a trap to force the poorest nations to participate in this amoral agenda of disregarding gender identity. You see, real gender identity. The trap is all over. And it seems like the enemy had cast its net. Open your eyes, guys. The enemy had cast its nets. Families have been collapsing. Families have been collapsing. Children no longer find strong attachment to their roots. The school system is messed up, especially in the U.S. That a child can say, he's a boy, I want to be a girl, and they're pushing, you don't need parental consent. What is this? It's anarchy explosion. Anybody can do whatever they want. And if you are carefully listening, you will hear even that voice inside churches. Why is this anarchy? Lawlessness shall increase. It's the overall agenda of Satan. You should see all of this because I have been telling you to open your eyes and see this. Obvious. The covenant of marriage is almost gone. That a lot of people right now being married, the woman will not even take the name of the man. Very critical in marriage because it's a covenant. In covenant, there's always a transfer of name. God gave his name to Abraham because Abraham is the weaker vessel. The Bible says the woman is the weaker vessel. Not a weak person, but a weaker vessel. Therefore, the man gives his name. So when a woman right now refuses to accept the name, I don't care if she is born again. I saw this years ago. My wife was in an accident, and her accident was as a single person. So her name is Editha Bessa to claim insurance benefits that she got from the accident. Well, in the process, we get married. And I said, Anne, why is Bessa in that name? You are now a nationalist. At first, she was just smiling at it, trying to ease her way out of it. It's because her sister, at one point, refused to be called by her husband's name. She would just want to be called Dr. Bessa when she's already married. People think it's okay. No, it's not okay. It's a disintegration of the covenant process wherein the weaker vessel receives the name of the stronger vessel. And people are laughing at it. It's the 21st century. Yeah, it's a 21st century evil. It touches the covenant that God has enforced on mankind from the beginning of time. But if you don't have the spiritual eyes, you don't see this. Why? Because the Bible says, spiritually discerned. You see? Now, this is the entrapment. The two other administrators with some satraps went on the king together in verse 6. This is Mills troubles right away. They are approaching the king with conspiracy in their mind, and you can just see the drama in verse 7. They propose to the king to make the decree for 30 days. Nobody will pray to any god except to you. If you are a proud king like Darius, your ears will clap. By the way, flattery is a trap. Do not fall for it. If somebody tells you you're the most handsome person in the world, that's the devil, okay? If somebody tells you you're the best singer in the world, that's the devil. If somebody tells you you're the best in everything that you do, that's the devil. It's an entrapment. It's flattery. It's meant to make you proud when we should be humbling ourselves before the Lord. Young preachers were often trapped with that when they say, you are the best preacher that I've ever heard. And their ear claps and they start their own church when they shouldn't be starting anything like that at that point. So, the penalty for disobeying this decree, can you imagine? If you just pray to your God, you'll be thrown into the lion's den. You know, part of the reason why I have that gate locked and I don't want it to be open when we're not here is because some Muslims started coming here trying to pray in our parking lot. I have no problem with them praying. They can pray in the middle of the street. I will not stop them. Yeah. Why choose this place? They can pray there. If you think it's an innocent thing, well, there's a vacant lot. The middle of the street is vacant. I mean, the pedestrian walkway is vacant. It can't be used as a reason. People just dismiss it as, oh, this is just, no, it's not. There's a spiritual thing behind all of this. Now, I don't want you snooping around saying, oh, there's a demon there, there's a demon there. No, don't be weird like that. Christians don't operate like that. Again, the test proposed to the king, it's very appealing not only to his pride, but it seems like the simple reading, it seems like, well, it's a test of loyalty. If they are really loyal to you, then they will only appeal to you. What seems simple may not be that simple. So, from the mind of these corrupt officials, Daniel, they know, always prays 3 times a day. Why? Because they will, they will spend spies on you. You know? Remember years, over 10 years ago, when the spirit of gossip tried to infiltrate this church? Boy, I fought it hard. You know, some of our leaders were trapped into it, and some of them are already gone. We have an elderly mother. She will be sitting right there, and the moment I finish teaching, or while I'm teaching, she's texting the ringleader of the gossips. Yeah, and they know exactly what's going on in the service. They know what I said. Why won't they just come? You know, and they say, "Well, we are not welcome." They're the ones saying that. They're the ones who left. You see the twisting? Somebody left the church, and my wife sent her a receipt for her giving, and says, "Well, I don't know that we are still welcome at Lion's Heart." And my wife says, "We never kicked you out. You left." But have you noticed the moment they leave, they say, they don't want us there. That's a corrupt mind. It's not that we don't want you here. You don't want us anymore. I mean, people just think strange. They touch the fire and blame the one who made the stove. You know, and say, that's can you know how the foolishness? This old lady bought a cup of McDonald's coffee, put it in her lap. Who puts a hot coffee in her lap? Just in case you know, the reason why it's called automobile, auto and mobile, you know, mobile is movement. It moves. When it moves, the coffee will spill. So it spilled on her lap. Guess whom she blamed? McDonald's. Why? The coffee is too hot. You don't say, "May I order cold coffee?" You ordered hot coffee, so it's hot. That's the foolishness that's going on right now. So people say, "Oh, I didn't realize you still want us at Lions." We never throw you out. You left. But a corrupt mind twists information like that. So this is what you call as entrapment. Oh, but for Daniel, since I came here when I was a little boy, I wanted to get out. I wanted Israel to return to the land of promise. Now the Lord has blessed me all these years. Now I'm over 80 years old. And I'm seeing prophecy about to be fulfilled in few years. Oh, it must have been a very exciting time when on the first year of Cyrus, Cyrus sat with him and he said, "Cyrus the king, you are God's anointed." Who, me? Yeah. I don't believe in your God. It doesn't matter. You're God's shepherd. Now you're going to protect his people to return to the land of promise. I don't know what it has done to Cyrus. This ignorant king who knows nothing but kill and trample underfoot his opponents. Now he's being called by the Lord to be gentle to the smallest nation he has ever conquered. Be gentle with it. And by the way, when you do that, when they leave, they need money to build a temple. So issue a decree. If a Jew asks for your gold, you give him gold. If he asks for silver, you give him silver. Sounds like the Exodus. You see? Give him favor. Why? Because you are going to rebuild my house. Amen? You have to ask yourself, where are you in this prophetic calendar? Now, let's look at the natural story. The king overlooks or failed to see obvious problems with this proposal. The more I read it, the more I realize the trap is two-pronged. The trap is for Daniel, and the trap is for Darius, okay? There were only 3 administrators. Daniel was not in the meeting. And they say, all administrators. Then where is Daniel? The most favored one, the wisest one. You see, when your ears are flattered already, you fail to see facts. The fact is this. All the administrators, all the satraps, all the governors agree with this edict because they are all loyal to you. Yeah, but where is Daniel? By the way, just in case you don't remember, he would have said, Daniel is the one that I'm about to promote. Where is he? Is he really on this one? Have you noticed when surveys are taking, 62% of Americans believe this. Polls are the biggest lies that you can ever read. It says 62% of Americans believe that we should approve this and that. From the sample of 200 people. That means 62% of 200 people. You know what is the 62% of 200 people? 100 and, what, 24? Something like that. I forgot the figure. Out of 300 million people. That's called survey. That is called survey. And we read, all of you who believe in the newspaper more than the Bible, oh, look at that, 62% of Americans. That's from 200 samples. That's what it is. That's from 200 samples. And we say, 62% of Americans. Oh, that's from 200 samples. This is how lies are being made every day. All administrators, where is Daniel? You look at what is obvious. You know, when I'm meeting with my family and they say, well, Papa, all of the kids says this. Well, not all of the kids are here. Mama said this. Well, I talked with Mama, and this is not what we have agreed. You know, you have to use your head a little bit like that. Because they know that the moment they make the king, they will use the law against you. The moment they make the king sign the decree, it's irrevocable and unchangeable. These are just growing lies. You look at the lies. Hillary Clinton came the other day saying, it shows that justice system, and she's very bold about it, is at work in America. Yeah, why are you still free? I mean, I read that you says, do you really know what you're talking about? Why are you still free? Why is Hunter Biden still free? Why is Joe Biden still free? When it's been proven with records, the corruption took place. Therefore, justice system is not working. But they have the audacity to say that. And the Americans who favor them just simply clap their hands. Oh yeah, blinded. Okay? Darius already knows Daniel's unflinching commitment and devotion to God. Daniel was not with them when they were meeting with others. With this oversight, the king immediately signed the written edict. If you will look back, some of the traps that we find ourselves in is because we did not read enough. In legal terms, we did not read the fine print. I don't know it's in the contract. I don't know it's in the contract. The fine print has been signed. The trap has been set, and it is set to catch only one prey, Daniel. Oh, we can make comparable illustrations today. I keep illustrating this when my son wants to change course. From the natural, Joseph is just having difficulty with his school, you know. And maybe he come to terms that engineering is not his. Oh, but I'm not interested in the engineering or any other course. I'm interested in the voice of God. So my first question to him is, Joseph, you told me you prayed. I said, yeah. And you told me this is God's will. Yes, Papa. Did God change his mind? It set him back. You see, he said, I'm having difficulty with my courses. My professors are Indians, the TAs are Indians. I could not understand their English. Now, all of us understand that, you know, especially when you do customer service. Everybody understands that. That's your son. That's his future. Yeah, I'm going to take another course. Oh, but that's not how I look at it. Because prior to him taking the course, didn't we pray? Because I prayed with him. Didn't we pray? Remember I told you about the house? Answers, it's very expensive here in Edgebrook. let's just buy in Jefferson Park. I said, but Ann, you asked me to pray with you. I already asked God for a house in Edgebrook. And she never looked at it that way. That's how short-sighted we are. She never looked at it. Oh, she was thinking about. I already asked God to give us a house in Edgebrook. Yeah, but it's expensive. Yeah, I already asked God to give us a house in Edgebrook. As simple. Are you telling me that God cannot provide a house? Oh, because we pray prayers we don't mean. Now, it set her straight, and God gave us a house in Edgebrook. I could have just simply said, yeah, it's hard, so let's. No, but I prayed. I asked God for a house in Edgebrook. And Joseph prayed, and God told him mechanical engineering. He has scholarship in what's IIT? Is it IIT? ITT or AT&T, you know? Whatever school is that. By the way, more money from IIT or something. More money. Oh, but we look at Joseph and say, yeah, more money, Joseph. What about if your grades are not at par? Will they keep the scholarship? He doesn't have the answer. Thank God we asked that question. First year, he was not able to maintain his grade. He would have lost his scholarship. I would have been trapped with financial burden. 6 months after going to school, Joseph came to us and said, oh, Papa, my friends who told me all I need to do is pay $100 or $100 a month for the apartment, dormitory, whatever it is, because they just want us to be together, they left the school. The friends that he was banking on that are going to be there, and a lot of people make decisions based on their friends, not based on God. Their friends became their God. They left the school. Can you imagine if Joseph went there because of them? Then he had been stuck in that school. But Joseph was, oh, Papa, thank you. And now he's enjoying his life. You know, he's got bigger head than ever before. You know, but it boils down to, what do you see? If your insight is very limited, you will not see this. Now let's make an immediate application here before we proceed. The text made a powerful statement about the character of Daniel. They could not find anything against him in his administration. He is a trustworthy man. He's a man of integrity. Look at Proverbs 11, verse 3. Proverbs 11, verse 3. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the perversity of the treacherous destroys them. You know, since COVID, since we returned to the Philippines because of COVID, I have been telling this to the pastors, and I know they don't like it, but I don't know why they're not reacting that much. Maybe they know it. I told them this point blank. Some of you disqualified yourself already for the next move of God. Yeah, and I know it. I know it. I told the pastors, I said, some of you disqualified yourself already. And you should see their reaction. Some of them are doing their best to just have a blank stare. They have disqualified themselves. I am very aware as I address those ministers, some of them will never participate in the next move of God because they have been trapped. They have squandered the capital that God gave them. And one of the reasons why I know that, because in my heart, the spirit of eldership is growing stronger in me. And that is to train the younger. In my heart, I know that God is preparing a new, young generation. And I look at the crowd a lot of times and it says, and I will just tell them this straight. And some of you have disqualified yourselves. And just this eerie blank stare back at me like I don't know what I'm talking about, but they know I know what I'm talking about, and they know they are it. Now, I'm not saying they'll be out of the ministry. They will stay in the ministry because God is gracious. They have to be provided, but that's about it. They have lost traction because they have entrapped themselves so much with politics, with such financial slavery and all of those things. I mean, some of them will not move unless a rich person help them. They don't know how to live by faith anymore. They have lost the most basic. That's why the integrity of the upright guides them. Integrity, as I told you, is a building term. This is a term applied to a structure when an inspector comes. The moment it lost its integrity, it will be labeled condemned. Or if not for condemnation, okay, these are the massive repairs that needs to be done. Because the integrity is in question. If you do the following things, it will restore back its integrity. But some, you cannot do anything. You just have, for example, the first building that we saw, it's a bigger property, it's very cheap. I have the cash to pay for that. I look at the second house where you can use as a dorm, and I look at the door and says, whoa, termites. The door is just full of termites. And I look at the outside, the supporting post underneath, eaten by termites. And you look at the house, all the wooden part, you can see the termites just feasting. I don't know how many more years they have to finish the thing, but it's ready to collapse. So what is that? Ready to be demolished. It has no integrity. Termites have eaten it. No more integrity. So I decided to go back to the first house that we went to, and I begin to see more. Termites. Both buildings. Good for nothing. That means if I buy it, the first thing I should do is demolish everything and rebuild. You see? Why? Because it's good for nothing already. You need to be able to see those things. That's why the deliverance of the Lord becomes very important to us. Thank God for His deliverance. No matter how deep the trouble that we are in, when we recognize the trouble, God specializes in miracle. And God can bring us deliverance. Oh, but some people have no more time. You know what I'm crying out to God now? I'm telling the Lord, Lord, I'm almost 62. And I told God, please, don't let me go through a long building program. Can you imagine if we don't have the money and I have to supervise for 10 years to finish the building? You know, in 10 years, how old I'm going to be? That's almost 72 years old. You know what 72 is? 72 is not 27. You know? It's the reverse. And I look at it and say, oh God, give me the money I need. And I'm even asking God, if I am not going to see this building through, who will see it through, or will the vision be passed to another? You have to ask these questions because I am very aware that I have been delayed. I'm very aware that, I was able to push that this building be paid off, so there's no financial obligation. I feel good about that. But there's more to be done. And so I'm asking God for youthful vigor, I'm not saying I'll be able to. Joel was asking me the other night, show me how you jump, Papa. So I show him how to jump. Nothing lips, just, it doesn't elevate anymore. But that's why for you who are young, don't squander it. You are part of a prophetic community, the people of God, and so the enemy will try to lure you into his traps, to slow you down and ultimately to stop you. It is a powerful thing to have this kind of reputation, to be honest and a man of integrity outside. This does not come easy. Look at Proverbs 22, verse 1. Proverbs 22, verse 1. A good name is to be chosen over great wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold. A good name is to be chosen over great wealth. Yeah. What will you choose? Good name or great wealth? I'm telling you, a lot of people will choose great wealth. They will choose wealth. But a good name. You can build. That's one of the ways by which God can bring prosperity to you. If I preach right now in the Philippines to a church that gives offering, okay? Or if I take the offering that they give, because of the building of the reputation, I would get more offering in peso in one preaching now than American preaching in an American church in one preaching. I know how much they give to American preachers here. I'll get more money preaching in the Philippines, dollar equivalent. Sometimes it amazes me. And I begin to realize this. They are not giving me offering for me. They are giving me offering because I do missions. And they know I use it for missions. I know how much offering churches give here to pastors when they preach. I receive more than that when I receive an offering in the Philippines. Well, because I'm old. And I have not taken from them. And now they respect the calling that God has put in my life. And by the way, they respect the reputation of Lion Star in spite of. In spite of. I was amazed because this time in Baguio, that thing overflowed. And it's an amazing thing. And by the way, we don't spend money. Your dad doesn't spend money on promotion, right? I think it's just text messaging, right? And primarily there's one bishop there that your dad come to know and just text everybody. And there's still groups that are trying to compete to us. So when we went to Trinidad, two groups decided they will hold a seminar at the same time. So we got very upset. Why are you holding seminar? We don't do those things anymore. There are people who just believe in what we are doing, and they're just following. And I like it when we do seminars in the Philippines and I see the same places. I don't like it when I don't see the same faces. I want to see the same faces. That means you're building on people's lives. If it's different faces that I see, like in one place, I stop coming back because you're not building anything, So I want to be able to build something. Daniel is also competent in all his works, honesty, integrity, and skillful. Again, as I said this morning, not just because you have integrity and honesty, do you have the skills? Like for example, I had John teach. You've got, a few of these are your students, right? From the online course. So some of them are looking forward. Can you imagine? Before I will come, years ago, I will come to the Philippines and they will tell me, oh, Pastor Jose, thank you that you came. We're going to learn from you. And then years later, it changed. I land and they say, Pastor Jose, is your wife with you? Wow. Now they don't do that anymore. They don't say, oh, thank you. Now, hey, Pastor Jose, is John coming? Is John with you? And then followed by, is your wife with you? Oh, nobody looks for me anymore, but what I'm saying is this: wow, there's a building. You're building. They're ready to receive from your family, and now they want DJ to minister, And I just hope to God that their heads won't grow. Well, if they do, I'll be the one to smash it, These are rare combinations when you can have the reputation and then you will have the skills. When you can, it's an amazing thing to me when I'm not white skinned, I'm not black, I'm just cooked right. It still amazes me to this day, and I thank God for it. I can actually stand up and really not do that much movement and address those people for 6-7 hours, and they don't leave. It's an amazing thing to me. It's an amazing grace of God that I see being manifested. But it doesn't come just because I wave my hand. I put some work in it. You need to have the skills. For each of us, we have our calling. And with that calling, a skill set comes along with it. You cannot have a calling without a skill set. That skill set is there. And you need to be skillful. Some people, their trap is they stop. They don't develop their skills. They know how to, if you know how to cut wood, might as well know how to put them together. If you know how to put them together, develop your skill. You might as well know how to cover them with drywalls. The moment you can cover them with drywalls, might as well know how to apply the mud. And if you know how to apply the mud and sand it, might as well paint it. You see, that's what I call skill development. Some people just stop. The experience, like some people, do you know that McDonald's is not supposed to be meant for old people originally? McDonald's is supposed to be for high school students and early college students. It's supposed to be for young people who needed money for their allowance and discount when they eat at McDonald's, you know. It's not supposed to be a place where you build a family. And people know that because, to be honest, how much skill do you need? Putting that patty meat on a pan, you know, and all you're after is speed on service, that if your food doesn't come in 5 minutes, the meal is free. Not that much skill. You're not undermining them, but that is not meant to be used for supporting your family. Some people settle though. They settle. That is now their source of supporting their family. Instead of a stepping stone where you build on, it became the stone. You know, when God gives you skill, it will not be all the skills that you need. You will start this level, and you will enjoy its benefits. Don't stop there. You are meant to build it, and build it, and build it for as long as you can. Daniel was also a model of stewardship because he faithfully discharged his duties. So now, as believers in Jesus, we must focus not only to maintain our testimony before the eyes of the world that we are faithful. Now, our stewardship has to be discharged properly. Proverbs 20, verse 6. Many a person proclaims his own loyalty, but who can find a trustworthy person? If you ask people, who is loyal? Of course, everybody will raise their hands. Nobody wants to be called disloyal. But who is trustworthy? That means you are worthy of whatever. Because when you are loyal, a trust will be given to you. Trustworthy comes from two words, trust and worthy. Meaning, somebody will give you their trust. Are you worthy of the trust? When my wife accepted my proposal that we get married, what happened? She gave me her trust. Okay? I made the proposal, so she gave me, Anna, I think we need to get married now. You know, so. And she said, I agree. When she said I agreed, she gave me her trust. But by the way, when she gave me her trust, I don't have that much. But she just trusted me. Okay, Pastor Jose, because she doesn't call me by my first name to this day. She either calls me sweetheart or pastor. Can you imagine you're in the house? Pastor Jose. I might as well give an altar call in my house, you know. Okay, it's time to eat, guys. Let's pray. But to this day, that woman whom God gave me never called me by my first name. She still calls me Pastor Jose or sweetheart. So she put her trust. Now the trust is in my hand. Am I worthy of it? Am I worthy of it? That's why, for example, young men, those of you who are contemplating on having a girlfriend or getting married, yeah, you may deceive some people to trust you. Because some of it is just deception. Yeah, because maybe you think you're handsome, or you're able, and you say, well, I'm trustworthy. You can trust me. You can trust me, girl. Okay, she trusts you. Are you worthy of that trust? Are you worthy of that trust? A lot of people will find themselves not measuring up. They are not worthy of the trust. Can you imagine a man says, I want you to be my wife. I'm putting my trust that you can be my wife and the mother of my children. And after you gave birth to the child, you just squandered the opportunity of helping raise the child the person is not worthy. You see? I repeat to you our testimony when we were in financial bind so many times. My wife will tell me, you got to let me work. And I say, no, no, the primary thing that we have is make sure that our kids are properly coached. They're properly monitored. We'll believe God for finances. And it was very difficult for my wife at first because she's a finance person. She wants to see the cash, you know. And I says, we have to believe God. And the issue there is not that she can work or she cannot. And when I married you, not only do I want you to be my wife, I want you to be the mother of my children. Are you worthy of that trust? You see, can you help me raise my kids so they can have the knowledge of God and the fear of the Lord? And they will grow up serving God. Are you worthy of the trust? It's not one way. Can you live a life that demonstrates this is how you should be? You know, I have a daughter. When my daughter grows up, can she look at my wife and say, Mom, you want me to be pure until the day I get married? Did you keep yourself pure? If my wife can say, yes, daughter, I did, she is worthy of the trust. You see, Daniel was trustworthy. I can only interview so much if I'm an employer. And in your resume, it shows, I can trust you. Now I trust you. Now it's the other way around. Are you worthy of the trust? Oh, for 70 years, Daniel found himself worthy of the trust. He looked at Ashpenaz one day and says, Ashpenaz, give me 10 days. And 10 days only. Here's the test. The fruit we're going to eat. 10 days. Trust me on this one. And Ashpenaz says, I trust you. 10 days you've gone. After 10 days, they look better. But that's the only thing. Well, you're having you don't have the same nutrition still. You're still eating grass and dandelions, you know. And now listen. Let's look at your brain power. Daniel says, I follow the Lord my God. Trust me on this one. I will not be lesser intellectually than the other students. What happened after the test? Top 4. Daniel, Mishael, Azariah, who's the other one? Hananiah. Yeah. Always on top. Worthy of trust. Whatever you put on them, they'll put their faith in God, and they worthy of trust. You see, trust is 2 ways. You know, God says, trust me. You put your trust in God. Is He worthy of our trust? Oh, I'm telling you, every time you put your trust in God, He will prove Himself worthy of our trust. 1 Corinthians 4 verse 2. In this regard, it is required that managers be found faithful, or stewards. Be found faithful. We need to be found faithful, meaning we have integrity. Now the stage is fully set now because the king signed the edict. This trap is built by these enemies. Daniel, being one of the 3 administrators, was certainly informed, by the way. Daniel has friends inside the court, of course. He's got satraps under him. So the news went forth. A decree is about to be declared. Immediately, a messenger, as is normal in any position like an administrator, immediately some of Daniel's men in the court, those who are loyal to him, run with a message to Daniel. Knock on the door. Daniel, there's an edict. Listen carefully, it will affect you. The 2 administrators connived with other satraps and other governors, and they were able to lure the king into signing an edict that will be detrimental to you. What is it? Within the next 30 days, you can no longer pray to your God, but only to Darius. Is that so? Yes. Because we also know that these 2 administrators are going to send spies now. They know your calendar. You know that they know that in the morning, at noontime, in the evening time, you open your windows facing Jerusalem, you kneel there and pray. There is a spy outside your house. And by the way, the houses in those days are not 70 feet story tall. They don't have the technology. You know, they're something that everybody can see. there are spies outside, and they are in other houses. They are looking at you, waiting for you to make a mistake. The moment you make the mistake, they'll march in your house. Because he doesn't pray for 30 seconds. You know, he doesn't pray the way we do in our food. Thank you for this food in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's eat. You know, you will not catch Daniel that way. Can you imagine if Daniel knelt down and say, "Bless Jerusalem in Jesus' name. Amen." Well, before they can even sit down to spy, he's gone. No evidence. Oh, he will pray for at least 1 hour. This guy will spend prayer enough time to send some of the enemies of Daniel. So this is what happened. And this is Daniel, a faithful prayer. Verse 10. When Daniel learned that the document has been signed, so he knew he's got a spy too. He's got an informant. Yeah, not a spy. He's got informants in the court. When Daniel learned that the document had been signed, he went into his house. The windows in its upstairs room opened toward Jerusalem. And 3 times a day, he got down on his knees, prayed and gave thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel petitioning and imploring his God. So, just imagine this. A court session was held. So the signing of a new law by Congress. The president signed it. As it is signed, before it's been, normally there will be a time, say, in 2 days this will be implemented. An informant went to Daniel, ran to Daniel. Hey, Daniel, what you're doing is supposed to be illegal. Upon learning what just took place, before his enemies can even form a group that will get into his house to arrest him, the next thing he did, open his windows, as is customary, 3 times a day. So at least 1 day passed. In the morning, noontime, in the eventime. And prayed in the same way like before. So at first it seems like only Daniel was trapped. However, looking at it closely, the king and Daniel were trapped. Although the trap was only for Daniel's demise, not the king's, the king fell to it first. It requires the forceful cooperation of the king. The king likes Daniel, you have to trap the king. By the way, those who are close to you, you may not feel close to them. Those who can possibly bless you. If you are out doing the will of God, those who are close to you, those who are willing to be used by God to assist you, will be included in the trap. Or for example, if you're like some of these evangelists, well, let's take this just for example. If God called me to do certain things, I cannot do them alone, of course. You need to have a church. Well, the enemy will then try to trap the congregation, not to have the finances needed to be faithful. If we don't have the finances needed to be faithful, we don't have the money to do missions. You see, all of these are connected. If you choose to be faithful no matter what, then the enemy will include your bosses and your families. Okay, you're very faithful. Well, you have family members who are not believers. You can make them sick. You can make them think wildly, to take your time, to take your energy, and to take your resources. This is how trap work. It's a network, okay? So now the king was key. The thing is, it is the king who fell for this trap. He did not see it. He was the one who sealed the trap. The enemies must have felt good for themselves after the king signed it. And they must have said, boy, we have done a good job. Finally, we got him. The trap that Daniel fell into is also a test of his faith. The test was like a two-edged sword. On one side was an attack on his fellow officials against, was an attack from his fellow officials against his faith on the one and only true God. So, here is Daniel, the best of the three administrators. The devil used his co-workers. And those of you in the office, you know that your 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 colleagues can be used by the devil. You know, even as your family can be used by the devil also. On the other side, it is the test whether he would remain faithful to God and to his word in the face of such persecution. The other thing, you can't do anything because the enemies will use your friends, your relatives, your employers, whoever connection to you. But the second side of the two-edged test is you. Ultimately, it's your faith. Look, if I keep my faith in God, if there are three of us, the face of these two will change. I started serving God when I was 15. I was in a little church called Nabotas Assemblies of God. The size of the church, this is bigger. You know, the building is wider, but this certainly has a bigger capacity. It's a very small church. Yeah. The first supporters that I have were a couple of women. From time to time, they'll give me 50 pesos. That's all. And that's a big amount of money for me back then. The first partner that I have is an old lady. Her name is Sister Santiago. Is she probably dead? I hope so. Seriously. Because if she is alive, she'll be the age of Methuselah by now, you know. So you don't want that to happen. So she's probably in heaven. I don't know her last name. You know that woman even promised me lands in the Quezon province? Yeah. I did not bite any of that. But she was the first partner that I had. Then my Sunday school superintendent, a great musician. She loves the Lord. For a time being, the Lord used her. Those two were no longer on my side. And as I look around, the faces of those beside me just keeps changing. Keeps changing. You know what remains constant is God. Are you listening? That's what remains constant. And so ultimately, although there are other personalities around you, it's your faith in God. You can't blame others. You cannot. You look at this congregation. The face of this congregation has changed. Even my face had changed. You know, I aged. The face of this, and for some people, they don't understand that it bothers them so much. It doesn't bother me as much because the face of people around me has been changing so many times. Yeah, it will keep changing still. The question is this: are you going to remain faithful in this trap or test? Daniel's achievement for 70 years means absolutely nothing. Look, he overcame the food crisis, right? His friends survived the fiery furnace. In between, around 70 years, how many more tests did Daniel pass? That's just already back there. Now it's a totally different test. He's around 82 years old, 83 years old, at least 81 years old. And now he's facing this test. All the past achievements, what does it mean? Nothing. This is not about food anymore, but it's about his faith and his relationship with God. Did he learn something from the food crisis? Did he learn something from what his friends went through in the fiery furnace? Did it leave an indelible mark in his spirit that God is alive and God is faithful? Question to us is this: as we go through all the different phases of our lives, what did those things teach us? Part of the reason that when I talk to you guys, and somebody's about to leave, oh, the offering is going to be affected. I say goodbye. I have seen those faces change. By the way, my wallet, there were times it's very light, it's almost empty. There were times it's heavy, it has a lot of money. I have seen both ends. The one that always remains constant is God. Some of us are moved by what's in our wallet, by the kind of cars we drive, by the size of houses we live in. Those will continue to change. When I was a young preacher, I look at my friends, boy, they were giants. Those who were ahead of me in the faith. A lot of them backslid. I just lost one not too long ago. Phenomenal worship leader, phenomenal musician, big as high, dream as high as the sky. Gone now without seeing those dreams fulfilled. I've seen these things. What did it leave in my spirit? The experiences that you went through, what is its effect in your spirit? Because if you don't begin to think like these things in this area, oh, you will be trapped and you don't even know it. And then suddenly you will open your eyes. The next move, God is there. And you are not ready. This is an exciting time for me. I'm asking God, Lord, speed things up. I find myself pregnant. Lord, can you speed things up a little bit? Can you give me a little bit more strength? Can you give me a little bit more resources? I don't want to worry about certain things. But I keep telling the Lord, but if you want me, I don't want to pioneer a church anymore in the Philippines. But I told the Lord, I finally saw, I said, God, if you want me to start another church in the Philippines, I will. I'm willing to do that. But you better be ready. If you are trapped, like I said this morning, you better set yourself free from the trap. Because God is on the move again. I see it. He is moving. And I want to participate in it. Amen. Listen, Jesus is coming back again. And I'm excited for his second coming. And I pray to God I'm still alive when he does. Can you imagine if I'm preaching and then the rapture takes place? Whoa. That'll be luxurious, okay? That will be fun. Praise God. Well, let's all stand.